"Tom, you're going to be held responsible for this." The voice of the department head, Mike, echoed in the silent office. I was being made to take the fall for a mistake made by my boss. I was supposed to become a full-time employee after the next contract as a temp worker. The apparel store I was currently assigned to was one of the top-selling in the company. As an assistant, I was supporting the work of the manager, Alex, but for some reason, he disliked me. Looking down on me as a temp worker, he dumped all the tedious tasks on me. When I vented about this to a colleague at a company meeting, they said, "Alex's uncle is one of our company's board members, so it's a nepotism hire. Just lay low until you get transferred." Realizing this, I was utterly dismayed. Then, one day, an incident happened. Somehow, 10 times the planned amount of scarves and knit hats arrived at the store. In a panic, I checked the order form and discovered a critical error, an extra zero. Scarves and knit hats are seasonal, so overstocking is a problem. "Who ordered in bulk? Wasn't that your responsibility? You said you'd handle it from start to finish, right?" Normally, as an assistant, I am also supposed to double-check the product orders, but Alex went ahead and placed the order without my input, saying, "Your confirmation doesn't make a difference anyway." Then, for some reason, I was called in and scolded by the store operations department. Alex must have reported it as my fault. Of course, I explained and objected, but apparently, Alex's uncle, a board member, insisted that Alex couldn't have made such a basic mistake. Alex continued to make order mistakes under my name, report customer complaints as if they were addressed to me, and blame me for every mistake. No one listened to my side of the story. Finally, Mike declared that my contract wouldn't be renewed. It was de facto dismissal. I was furious. When I told my wife, she was outraged and suggested divorce. She had been against my temp job, worried about financial instability, but I had reassured her, promising a full-time position soon, in my dream industry of fashion. We'd been married for 3 years with no kids. Our relationship was already strained, but the dismissal was the last straw. With the economy in a slump, there was no guarantee I'd find another job quickly. And unemployment benefits wouldn't cover the bills. It was clear I couldn't support my full-time homemaker anymore. She said she'd rather divorce than work. Since she married me right after college, she had never worked outside. She was beautiful and young, so she could easily find someone else after leaving me. For her sake, I decided to let her go. But it hurt to be so easily discarded by her. I wondered if she married me just for my salary. Abandoned by both my company and wife, my future looked bleak. Discarded by my workplace and wife, I became a jobless single man, moving out of our apartment into a cheap studio. Now, I visit the employment agency daily. But still, I couldn't find a job better than the one at my last job. Every job I looked at paid significantly less. But there is no other way out. I couldn't stay unemployed forever. I applied for a sales position at a small company. It was when I sent my resume and went for the interview. The weather forecast was off, and it was pouring outside. Luckily, I had an folding umbrella in my bag, so I stayed dry. While waiting in line at the taxi stand near the station, a woman completely drenched from the rain joined the line behind me. She must not have had an umbrella and got caught in the unexpected downpour. Her pantsuit was soaking wet, and droplets of water were falling from the loose strands of her tied-up hair. She was desperately trying to dry off with a handkerchief, but she was too wet to wipe it off with such a small cloth. A taxi soon arrived, and I opened the door. I turned to the woman behind me and said, "Please, go ahead." "Are you sure?" She looked at me curiously. "Yes, you'll catch a cold if you stay wet like that. It's better if you get home quickly." "Thank you so much." She thanked me again and again before getting into the taxi. Then, It took a while for the next taxi to come, and I ended up being late for the interview. Naturally, I didn't get the job. But I didn't regret doing a good deed. What concerned me more was whether that woman made it home safely and didn't catch a cold. Then a few days passed from that. I was on my way to another job interview at a different company. It was a large company that runs several apparel shops. I was shown to the reception room and waited for a while until the interviewer arrived. I stood up. "Nice to meet you. My name is Tom. Thank you for this opportunity." I looked at them, a man in his 40s and a woman in her 30s. The woman seemed surprised to see me. "You're the man from that time." On closer inspection, she was the woman I had given my taxi spot to. "I really appreciate what you did for me that day." It seemed that she couldn't thank me enough. "Oh, from the other day. No, it was nothing. That sudden rain was quite a hassle, wasn't it?" "Kara, do you know him?" the man asked her. Kara explained to him how we met. Then the interview began. What a coincidence to meet here. During the interview, I found myself distracted, thinking about her. I answered a few questions, and the interview went smoothly. After the interview, as I was about to leave, the woman caught up to me. "Could I have a moment? What can I do for you?" I asked, puzzled. "Well, I would like to thank you properly, so if you're free, I'd like to have dinner together after this. Of course, it's my treat." "No, you don't need to thank me for that. What a conscientious person." While thinking this, I felt hesitant about being treated to a meal by the interviewer. I politely declined her invitation. "But I won't feel right if I don't do this," she insisted. After much hesitation and her persistent insistence, I reluctantly agreed to go to dinner with her. We arranged to meet in front of the station and left the company. There was still some time before our meeting, so I killed time by browsing the shops in a nearby building until it was time. She arrived a bit late. "Sorry for being late," she said. "No, it's okay," I replied. She took me to a restaurant she frequented. It was a cozy, independently owned pub. "Welcome." The lively voices of the staff filled the air. As we were seated, Kara handed me the menu and said, "Please order anything you like." For starters, I ordered a draft beer and edamame. She also ordered a draft beer, along with a salad and several skewers of grilled chicken. After setting down the menu, she said, "Thank you so much for that day. With your help, I was able to make it in time for my mother's final moments." "Your mother?" "Yes. She was hospitalized with a stroke, and I received a call that day saying she was critical. I rushed out without an umbrella, and then the rain started. I'm sorry to hear that, but I managed to see her and say my thanks at the end. If you hadn't given up your taxi that day, I wouldn't have made it in time. I'm truly grateful." "I see," I replied. She again said thank you. Her mother's funeral had just ended the day before, and she had returned to work that day. Then, she and I talked about various things. We talked about work, her mother's memories, my previous job, and even about my divorce. Losing a mother must be incredibly hard. I hoped this time would at least provide her some distraction. She was a great listener, showing deep interest in everything I said, making it easy to talk to her. And upon closer inspection, she was quite a beautiful woman. Just looking at her was soothing. The time spent drinking and chatting with her, who was both a good talker and an attractive woman, was truly enjoyable. Eventually, as the closing time of the restaurant approached, we decided to head home. We were going in opposite directions, so we parted ways at the station's gate. "Thanks for joining me on such short notice. I'm glad I could express my gratitude," she said. "Not at all. Thank you for the meal." I said this as we parted. Right after that, I thought, oh no, shoot, I forgot to ask for her contact information. Honestly, I wanted to see her again. I should have written down my contact details and given them to her. But without her contact info, there was nothing I could do. It was too late for regrets. All I could do was to hope that I would be hired by her company. I prayed to God that I would pass the interview. More than getting the job, my mind was filled with the desire to see her again. And then the next day, my phone rang. Looking at the caller ID, it was from her company. "Hello, this is Tom," I answered with a nervous voice. The caller was Kara. "Regarding the job interview the other day, you've passed. Can you start work from tomorrow?" she said. I mentally did a fist pump. "Thank you so much. I'll do my best." Before hanging up, I added, "By the way, Kara, could I have your contact information? If you don't mind, I'd like to go out for drinks again." Then Kara said, "Sure, let's go," and gave me her contact details. Yes. I jumped for joy on the spot. I never thought I'd feel this happy again, especially after being at rock bottom, having just been dumped by my wife. The next day, I went to my new job, excited. Kara became my direct supervisor. The new job was challenging at first, but I quickly learned the ropes thanks to Kara's clear instructions. About a week after joining, I asked Kara out for drinks. She took me to another one of her recommended places. "Has your sorrow healed?" I asked, and she shook her head. "I can forget about it at work, but when I'm home alone, I just can't help but think of my mother." "I see. Feel free to call me whenever you're feeling lonely," I offered. Then she blinked rapidly and asked, "Really?" "Of course, I'm always here if you need someone to talk to." "Thank you," she said. From then on, we started talking on the phone at night. She was an only child, and her father had passed away when she was young, so she was raised by only her mother. That's why they had such a strong bond. On weekends, I'd help her sort through her mother's belongings at her childhood home. There were so many memories there. "This is a photo from elementary school. It brings me back memories," she reminisced. I realized the profound impact of losing someone and thought I should be more filial to my parents while they're still alive. "This is the ring my mother always treasured," she said. After keeping a few keepsakes, she decided to dispose of the rest through a disposal service. Also, her mother's house became vacant and to be sold. "It's sad to lose a place full of memories, but it can't be helped," she murmured. I felt an urge to embrace and comfort her. I wanted to be someone who could support her. "Kara, I like you," I found myself blurting out. "Please, will you go out with me?" Her eyes sparkled as she replied. "I'm happy. I'd be honored." She gently held my hand. And so, Kara and I became a couple. A year later, I decided to take her to my parents' house. I wanted to tell them about our plans to get married. "We're home, Dad and Mom," I said. "Welcome back, Tom. We've been waiting," they replied. "This is Kara, my fiancée." I introduced her to my parents. My parents really liked her, as if they had gained a daughter. "From now on, think of us as your real parents and feel free to rely on us," she said, offering her hand, and Kara's eyes welled up with tears. She was happy to have a new family. Despite having experienced life's lowest point, I am now living happily. I heard through the grapevine that my old company was on the brink of bankruptcy after overexpanding. Leaving there turned out to be a good thing. I'm grateful for the fate that allowed me to land a job at a company I love and meet a wonderful woman, and to have found happiness.